Welcome back to Movie Moshow. Today we are going to review the horror science fiction film, The Day of the Triffids. If you like our content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We post multiple times daily. Spoilers ahead. First part. The venomous stingers of triffids, which are enormous carnivorous plants with violent and clever behavior, are used to paralyze their victim before they are eaten. In the late 1970s, a woman is killed by a triffid in the jungles of Zaire. The tale of how the oils the triffids create came to be used as a new alternative fuel, ending human-caused global warming, is told in 2009 by Bill Mason, Dougray Scott, the son of the woman who was slain. Bill is a triffid expert. Worldwide, triffids are stored in storage facilities. Some people object to how the plants are treated. A male triffid facility outside of London is broken into by one of these campaigners, Ewan Bremner, who is then detained. In the effort, Bill is hurt by an underdeveloped plant after lending his safety goggles to Lucy, Nora Jane No One, a co-worker and friend who works as a security guard. He is rushed to a nearby hospital by Lucy, where he is informed that he has a 50-50 chance of developing lifelong blindness. He misses a tremendous solar explosion that night that is visible from every country in the world because he has bandages over his eyes. More than 95% of the world's population, who are all those who see the flares, are blinded when the rays abruptly intensify to an ominous brilliance. This shows how harmful the rays are. The solar storm that blinds the pilots and all but one of the passengers on board an aircraft flying for the capital causes it to crash. Eddie Izzard, the only sighted person present, dives into the bathroom, wraps himself in life jackets, and prepares for the worst. The man, who narrowly escapes death when the plane crashes, adopts the name Torrance in honor of the demolished Westminster Boulevard. Bill has finally regained his sight and is back in the hospital, but he is unaware of how drastically things have changed. The streets are in a state of chaos, and many blind people are having difficulty navigating. Bill discovers Jo Clayton, Jolie Richardson, a radio star for Radio Britain, being ambushed by a group of helpless blind people who have learned that she can see and are attempting to use her as a guide. Bill protects her from additional injury. Jo was not blinded at the time the solar flare occurred when she was riding the London Underground. The two work together to figure out what occurred, but Bill is mainly worried about the triffids because he knows that the disaster must have caused the electricity at the compounds to go out because that is the only thing keeping the populace safe. Soon after, Bill and Jo see a signal coming from a university tower that is meant for the blind. When they arrive, they discover that a group of surviving members of the government and military have gathered to try to perpetuate the human race. The lack of forewarning of the advancing triffids infuriates Bill. He tries to flee but is caught by Coker, Jason Priestley, who, unaware of the impending calamity, uses him to gather supplies and survivors for the cause. Phase 2. An ambush by a gang of triffids in the middle of the night almost claims the lives of Bill and Coker. They both walk on foot to a brand new religious colony administered by Dorrant, Vanessa Redgrave, who is now the Mother Superior, foreboding the worst is yet to come. Despite its remote position, Bill is aware that the triffids might return and, worse yet, might multiply more quickly because of a collection of beehives. In an effort to reconnect with his estranged father Dennis Mason, Brian Cox, and, hopefully, discover a way to put an end to the triffids, Bill plans to travel to Cherning. He discovers Father Thomas's body outside the church, having been killed by Dorrant and offered to the triffids. Infuriated, he returns, surprise Dorrant, who insists that without her, the colony will implode. After a few days, Bill is still making his way to his father's house. Imogen, Julia Joyce, and Susan, Jen Murray, two blind orphan children he meets along the way, nearly kill him with potshots. The three set out for Cherning but run across Dennis Mason, who surprises them and reveals himself. Bill is reunited with Jo, who narrowly escaped Torrance's soldiers the previous night, as he returns to Cherning House, which is now shielded from triffid attacks by a strong electric fence. Bill learns Dennis's strategy for stopping the triffids, which involves creating a new species through genetic engineering in order to combat the existing one. Bill rejects the notion but agrees to get the final component of the experiment, a male triffid head. The new triffid succeeds after breaking into an abandoned plantation to find the head, but Coker also leaves some papers at the home that disclose the information of a new colony on the Isle of Wight, where the last of the triffids were wiped out. The developing triffid reacts by stinging Dennis after he listens to his wife's triffid recordings from Zaire. Bill responds to Dennis' cries for assistance by firing at the triffid through its skull in an effort to release his father. The group has no choice but to depart for the Isle of Wight with Dennis dead and the subject ruined. Before they can depart, Torrance arrives at the house with a group of men in search of the triffids' cure, but Bill won't reveal the strategy to them. If Torrance doesn't come up with a new strategy by the next morning, he'll kill him, Jo, and the girls. The recordings that earlier murdered Bill's father will be used to attract more triffids and create a distraction as he plots his escape. One of the troops, Troy Glasgow, a rookie cadet who defected to them by pretending their deaths to Torrance, almost foiled their intentions. The Triffid swarm destroys the dormant fence, locking everyone within the house and grounds, but one of the girls takes an antique folk mask from Bill's collection and it triggers a memory from 30 years before. On that day, a man informed him that the mask would enable him to see while briefly blinded by Triffid poison, thanks to the poison. He gives the treatment to himself, Joe, Troy, Susan, and Imogen after realizing it is the answer they have been seeking. Despite being able to pass the Triffids uninjured, they eventually overwhelm and destroy Torrance and his remaining men. After settling in the colony, the family is next spotted on the Isle of Wight. Bill continues to consider someday going to the mainland even if the gang is shielded from the Triffids by the Solent. He also challenges the lesson that the world was blind even while our eyes were open. Thank you for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe.